Welcome back, folks. Today we're going to talk about Gothic Remake again because the second episode of Making of documentary is out, showcasing more of the colony as well as developers talking about new versus old stuff, economy, crafting, orcs and so much more, so let's get into it. The first topic was about balancing old and new content in the game, from story elements to quests and areas which were cut from the original. So what they did is that they took everything they could from the original title. So assets, the code of the game itself, to see everything Piranha Bytes initially imagined for it and how they ultimately created a game which became so iconic. And in the terms of the remake, it seems to me that they have a pretty clear vision on what they want, and that's maintaining the original aspects of it and adding some stuff which was cut, as well as utilizing areas of the map that were empty to either you having to do a quest there or maybe find a good piece of loot. Alongside it, they developed the Alchemia dialogue editor, which allowed them to have a bird's eye view of choices you can make and also work on them either to polish it up or, as they said, fill out the plot holes or inconsistencies which the original quests had. Which is always tricky to do, as even Reinhardt said. They didn't set out to entirely change the game, but they won't do one-to-one remake to make the experience a lot more complete, to which, some players might not like it, but they're willing to explain it after the game is out. Which is a good and open discussion if you ask me, but again, everything I see here so far, I doubt they will go and retell the story in their own some way which is not, Gothic related, but again, rather just to enhance the main original experience. I mean, for this we cannot discuss much into detail until all of us, play the game ultimately. At least it's great that people leading the project are huge fans of the game and grew up with it, so that's another plus in my book. As, for example, now this can be really turned into a positive homage to Piranha Bytes and Gothic as a franchise, but let's see how it goes. They're also keeping and expanding on how the world feels in terms of NPCs and their daily routines, which means that, as it is in the original, NPCs will continue to live on their life regardless if Nameless Hero is there or not, being that one of the elements which made the original really stand out, as far as a game that old, which was the system which they had in place of NPCs reacting to you and your decisions, depending on your standing, depending if you are trespassing, if you have your sword out and so on, which faction you are in, and many other things. I think one of the examples that I see them really pushing, this is when these new camp guys actually hit the target dummy. It reacts to the hit, and yeah, for some this might be irrelevant, but if they're willing to put this much effort into a small thing, it tells me that they really put the effort into the rest. I mean, we even got the shot of the new camp, the rice fields, in front of the new camp itself, and I'm gonna be honest, it's expanded really well and it looks really nice, at least, from the actual style perspective and just the design. They even mentioned Templars walking from the swamp camp to the old camp, as they were kinda rare to see, but if I can remember, from time to time, even in the original, you saw them going from the swamp camp to the entrance to the mine. Although I could be wrong, there could be different Templars, but again, these are the small details. It's been a while since I went through the game, so I might be confused. Going to the language itself, they will be reworking English language the most because it didn't really manage to be as iconic as German or Polish, as they said. Of course, German version of Gothic, being that Piranha Bytes was German studio, was always the standard and iconic, but growing up with the English version of Gothic, I will say that for me at least, it's iconic even to this day. Also, rest in peace to William Roberts, the voice of Diego in Gothic 1, who sadly and recently passed away. Of course, the problem with English language in Gothic is that it went through many revisions in the second and third installment, different VAs and so on. So of course I can definitely understand that part which they mean in it, so actually having these revisions is actually going to be good. Which means that they want to maintain that rough language, which was the case in the German and Polish version of the game, which is definitely understandable because Gothic was always supposed to be done in that way, being very grounded and down to earth when it comes to speech. You're gonna have criminals working in the valley, most of them are, so the way they speak, the way they interact with the world, the way they think is going to be in that sense. They will also elevate the dungeons in the castle, adding other way player can enter that dungeon. So we even saw some shots of like the old camp castle itself. We haven't seen too many characters there, but you know, overall looks pretty much as we got used to it. When it comes to orcs, we actually got an extended look into their models as well as the location where they're at. With this, they want to increase how player interacts with them and how they want to expand it, as the original was pretty much straightforward. As you get, you know, the staff, go in, and well, you know what happens next without spoiling the story to all of the new players. I do like that aspect because yes, everything which happens in the story of Gothic throughout the series, orcs play the pivotal role there. There wouldn't be the barrier or increased orc production if King didn't need weapons for the war against them. And orc culture in Gothic, for everyone who is new here, is deep. They have their own way of life, they produce their own armor, weapons, and they are fierce warriors, as the continuation of Gothic really tells us that story on how good of a fighters they actually are. Model-wise, again, I do like what they did with them. They still maintain the original design and feeling to them, but now we see orcs which have much more, let's say, armor on them, different masks, different armor style, and they do look menacing in these gameplay segments, so that's cool as well. And they're supposed to be, because especially like early on in the game, as you're this new character, you don't really have the knowledge or the equipment to fight them. They are supposed to be this force to be reckoned with. As far as the economy goes, they will be also redoing how money is generated between NPC and the player, which means that NPCs won't be getting stuff, you know, chapter to chapter, but it means they will be actually generating that profit or money throughout the game itself, which means that the Nameless won't be the central bank anymore, but rather, as I said, people in the colony will gather stuff around, do their usual thing, which will generate some ore here and there to kind of keep that economy going, and for the Nameless to be able to either spend some stuff or buy some stuff in general. On the itemization side, they want to limit hoarding, as you will be crafting potions, cooking food to make better health items, as you will need them because, well, combat won't be easy. Which is good, as combat wasn't easy in the original as well, especially if you wanted to tackle a shadow beast or a warg early on, which I definitely don't recommend, but the good thing with Gothic is that you can always find a way to do it. I mean, in my first playthrough, ages ago, I destroyed the entire orc camp using like 1,000 arrows standing from the hill, which I shouldn't have done it because, well, the story was relevant there, but I didn't know. But hey, where there's a will, there's a way. This also means that they don't want you to break the economy fast, they want to actually delay that as much as possible, but eventually it will happen because, well, it's a closed system, which is fine. By the end of the game, you should have enough of pretty much everything. There is even a short segment of what seems to be the map of the valley. I mean, we can see the old camp in the middle, swamps, new camp, another side where we have Zarda's tower. So scale-wise, I think they are not aiming to be that huge, but they still, you know, want to elevate it so it fits in this grander, bigger scale of mountains, the castle itself, which makes sense as the original probably had limitations on that side. You can only put so much in an engine that they basically worked on back like what, 20 plus years ago. There are even some spots where we can see like weapon loot. Of course, locations might not be the final, but exploration will play a huge role. That means they will be adding more underwater exploration, and diving will be also a skill you will learn to get better in, so you can actually dive deeper to find the wreckage and get some loot from it. This was always a pivotal part of Piranha Bytes games, rewarding exploration, so I'm glad that they will be sticking to it in this game as well. Plus, we get to see some climbing animation that will be available in some parts of the map, so you won't be able to kinda hang on to everything. You will be able to climb stuff, like if you can hold on to it, but not in this way. This is only going to be in some parts of it. Speaking of exploration, day and night, or specifically night, will be very dark, so you have to use the torch or light spells to navigate where you are. Without the mini-map, and especially map at the start of the game, you have to manage this on your own, and I'm pretty sure, you know, for veterans this won't be a problem as general layout stayed the same, but I'm glad they didn't go for the usual here, like here's the mini-map all the time and that's it. Very true to the original Gothic, and actually you get to know the place and use in-game navigation to get around. Night in the colony is supposed to be scary. In the game you will be warned multiple times of wandering into the forest, and of course that was like in the original. And in the original, for the first time, yeah, it was scary, but it was never dark enough, so now that the darkness will play a much bigger role. They also talked a bit about music and how it overlays over each other as things happen, and you enter different areas of the map, or maybe, you know, combat begins. Plus, I mean, they have Kai Rosenkrantz back as the composer, and tracks you can hear in the background of the demo, which we played, and documentary. It will pretty much stay with the iconic instruments and composition we got used to before. I mean, huge plus for that. When it comes to crafting, we saw weapons crafting, which will stay the same as before, so you heat up the iron, you go to the anvil, temper it, and then cool it off. Alchemy crafting, we didn't see all that much, but I expect it to be in the similar style on the alchemy bench as always, which will be important. I mean, don't sleep on it if you are new to the game. You will need to use potions later on. Cooked meat won't help as much because your HP levels are going to rise, and the only way to do it is actually through potions. I mean, graphically wise and world design itself, I really don't have a problem with. I think, at least from the demo and the footage we actually see here, like, the game itself will be gorgeous to look at, and it will, you know, really like stay as we got used to it. When it comes to colors, I think they did it in the right way, as the colony has its own somewhat damp, dirty, almost desaturized look to it, but it still has a certain beauty which brings out details and emotions. They're going for it here, which is nice, especially because of course some things are going to change in that sense. Maybe some things are going to be more colorful, but that pretty much comes with the engine and stuff you put in it. As the project goes, I'm getting more and more positive about it because, well, it seems they're trying hard. Plus, this is the only and last shot we have for Gothic. With Piranha Bytes closed, I really do hope this succeeds and really gives everyone an awesome experience, because, I mean, if this is successful, I would really want them to remake Gothic 2, but one step at a time. Let's first get through this game. My main worry after the demo is the combat, or well, animation of the character in general, as some elements of it were too slow or sluggish even, with character having, you know, of course, no skill with a weapon, which is understandable. But if these things are revised a bit so that the combat flows better, and you are able to fight multiple opponents at once without issues, that's gonna be nice. Again, I think that the direction they have with combat, how it's utilized, like for example left, right, heavy attack and all, is good. I don't have a problem with that. It's just that those animations need some work and revisions so that can just flow better overall. Because it's one thing for combat to be difficult, that's fine, but if actually, like, let's say problems with like the animations get in the way and becomes unfair, well, I think that might be an issue. But having one aspect which is problematic with everything else looking good is nice. I mean, to be honest, I expected a lot more troubles, but it seems Alchemia might be the one that can continue to carry on and hold the torch for this IP. They have been very much open with their demos, you know, taking feedback from people, listening to the community, taking notes, which I think is necessary for an iconic game like Gothic, and they have been working really hard on it, which is really nice. And also it feels great because I started this channel with, you know, Gothic 1, and all these years after it I still get to cover it. But that's all for today. I will leave the link to the episode 2 down below, which I really recommend watching, and of course once they release some more info I will talk about it. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more, as I will be following all the news we get about this, and join our community on Twitter and Discord. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and as always, stay classy everyone, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye bye.